There is ubiquitous spy grids built into the cell phones, the computers. I was told over a decade ago that the chips could be energized from a distance by a top engineer, and that they could, even if your computer wasn't hooked to the internet, they could wirelessly steal the data. And all this built-in tech, you've got to pay for it. It messes up how your machines function. We've had Dr. Stallman, the inventor of open source, on the show. He's talked about this. Why so much of our tech doesn't work right is because what we're using it for is secondary. You pay for a computer, you pay for a cell phone, you pay for a car, and there might be $5,000. I was reading in an article of government-mandated illegal spy garbage, $5,000 of it. Most new cars have 2 or 3 spy hubs in them, wired in where the car won't work if it breaks. There's going to be a huge market in removing this stuff. In fact, if I wanted to just make money, I'd start a nationwide movement to remove the spy tech. Just like I told you before it was declassified that OnStar listens to you in real time without warrants. Then it came out in the news. And they don't want you knowing that. Just like it turned out the DEA, for over a decade, has access to NSA live phone records, live time, in their database. And then when they go to court to a grand jury or go to get an indictment, they build a fake case with fake evidence how they know you are a drug dealer or a money launderer. And they go and lie and perjure themselves, and it's ubiquitous in secret hand signals to the judges nationwide. And those same corrupt judges will put you in jail for not, quote, paying your income tax to the Federal Reserve. See how it's all a big little secret society, little secret agent thing. And, of course, they don't shut down the real drug dealers. They don't shut down the real child traffickers. They don't shut down the real child porn people that are doing snuff films. No, they plant it on innocent people's computers and then send them to prison. Now, there are good sectors of the government that are battling the other sector, but it's just so far gone, ladies and gentlemen. So we've got a report coming out where we'll document, the mystery of the cell towers is solved. We just solved it right here. The phantom rogue cell towers are not phantom or not rogue. It's like black helicopters. They were hitting towns all over the country, blowing stuff up, scaring everybody as a psyop. Reporters would cover it, and national news would go, crazy people in St. Louis claim helicopters blew up the old bakery. And then there'd be local news footage of it happening. And for a decade, they would just say it didn't exist. I would go get footage of it, interview police chiefs, and they would have AP come out and say, Alex Jones is delusional and believe he saw black helicopters. Alex Jones believes they're secret cell towers. Alex Jones thinks fluoride hurts you. Oh, my gosh, he doesn't trust a known criminal organization. He's a bad guy. Meanwhile, jihadis have taken over Libya. They're murdering everybody en masse. Just Christians, blacks, non-radical Muslims, taking over the airfields, blown up the U.S. Embassy. Obama and Hillary Clinton are getting no heat for overthrowing Gaddafi and doing this. No heat for 11 missing airliners in Tripoli. No heat for any of it. And there'll be no heat when ISIS blows up Fort Bliss with a dump truck full of TNT. There'll be, in fact, I predict MSNBC will somehow blame me. There'll be nothing. Nothing. They'll blame George Washington like they do at Fort Hood, saying he's bad.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
We've got John Rappaport joining us coming up in 20 minutes. We've got a very important investigative report we're going to premiere here dealing with the Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant. It's very important. That's coming up in the next segment. There's articles here where Rand Paul is being criticized as an isolationist by Republicans and Democrats because he was against the Syria war. They're trying to spin it. I heard him do it this morning on the radio. But see, he doesn't want to go after al-Qaeda. He was against arming al-Qaeda to attack Syria. And he's coming out saying he's not an isolationist. Rand Paul, I'm not an isolationist. If I had been in President Obama's shoes, I would have acted more decisively and strongly against ISIS. Some pundits are surprised that I support destroying the Islamic State in Iraq and greater Syria militarily. I've said I support it. I do. But I support a real attack on these people. And he's responding to that because they've been trying to say, oh, you're not for attacking them. I mean, that's the Obama spin, has been, we needed to be there because they were there. No, you armed them. They shouldn't be. I've said that since I began public life that I am not an isolationist, nor am I an interventionist. I look at the world and consider war realistically and constitutionally. I see war as the last resort, but I agree with Reagan's idea that no country should mistake U.S. reluctance for war for lack of resolve. As commander-in-chief, I would not allow our enemies to kill our citizens or our ambassadors. Peace through strength only works if you have a show of strength. He goes on to point out, and we have it quoted on Infowars.com in Steve Watson's article, Rand Paul, Obama's support weapons has allowed ISIS to grow. We, quote, have done a disservice and created chaos that has allowed the jihadis to grow stronger. That's right. That's why I said a month ago, yeah, I'm all for bombing ISIS, but I said 3 months ago when they were invading Iraq in huge columns, that's when they could have all been taken out. But they don't want that. They want to just bomb them when they know you got to paint by the numbers. You're not supposed to go into Kurdistan. You're not supposed to go into the east controlled by Iran. We're breaking Iraq up in 3 pieces. You can murder all the Christians and non-radical Muslims over here in the West. This is your new IS state. Now you behave yourselves. And now they're running around taking over almost all of Libya, which was the plan. It was jihadis they used out of Saudi Arabia, brought into Benghazi to do this 3 years ago. And this is what I've been telling you this was coming, that they would say, oh, we're going to get our airliners shot down. Oh, they're going to blow up Europe. Oh, the attack's imminent, when they set them up and opened the gate. We're going to cover this next hour with Joe Biggs. And I'm telling you, we don't have the staff or the crew or the energy to do it. We have millions of listeners, millions of viewers on YouTube alone every week. Folks, there's hundreds of videos of me when the whole Libya thing was happening, predicting what would happen. Days after Benghazi, saying they gave them Stinger missiles. It was all a setup to kill the ambassador, to have plausible deniability, arming al-Qaeda and al-Nusra, and then saying what would happen next. The reason it's important is that we need to be able to show people where I predicted and broke down the entire chain of events exactly as it transpired. Not because I had a crystal ball, but because I know the globalist program. I know how they operate. I know how they do it. And they will use the coming ISIS attacks that are undoubted going to happen in Europe and the United States. They're going to use these attacks to take our liberties, whether it's a real ISIS team that does it, or whether they use contractors to do it, or whether it's a foreign agency that does it. I don't know who will do it, but they will do it. And then you've got all the weird Fort Bragg training and Army War College stuff about the Tea Party's going to link up with radical Muslims. Remember that? And you're like, but that doesn't make any sense. The Tea Party's Islamophobic. They don't care. They're training for that. They're going to blow. They're going to blow stuff up and claim the Liberty Movement is involved. Remember MSNBC claiming I influenced the Boston bombers? That's the narrative. They're already getting ready. NATO, 3.5 years ago, funded al-Qaeda forces to invade Libya and overthrow the country. They've now seized Tripoli, the airport, 11 wide-body aircraft they are swearing to use against the West, 15,000 heat-seeking missiles. All of that is now confirmed. You heard it here first, that was a transfer of IMPAD surface-to-air missiles in Benghazi. And they're now going to use the real threat of Islamic State to attack the West, and that will be used to take our liberties. U.S. NATO commander admits al-Qaeda linked to Libyan rebels 2011. Linked to them, that's who ran the whole thing. NATO is a war criminal organization. Does that mean Putin's good? No. But it's NATO starting the war, overthrowing Ukraine, trying to kick out Russian interest. It's the globalists that are destabilizing the world. Gallup is reporting Obama has a 38% approval rating, lowest of his presidency. Rand Paul came out and said that Obama has created a jihadist wonderland in an op-ed piece in Time magazine, accusing Obama of helping create ISIS. Absolutely. That's why I like Rand Paul. Never supported any military action until now. He says, yeah, let's bomb ISIS. Obama isn't really bombing ISIS. They're bombing a few trucks here and there because it's so embarrassing that they've been caught. They thought we were so stupid that they would use them in Syria and Libya and against Russia and against Egypt, and that the world wouldn't wake up to it. This is a big deal. It has, of course, been exposed that our southern border has been ordered wide open by Obama, so they better think twice about letting ISIS in or staging something, because we're going to make sure this government is criminally held responsible for letting ISIS attack this country. ISIS is a real jihadi organization with over 100,000 members. They are growing into India, into Africa. They are attacking sites all over the world. They have attacked the U.S. Embassy in Tripoli. They have overrun it. They have taken over the airport. They are running around murdering Christians everywhere they find them. They're racist. They find black people. They chop their heads off. Over 10,000 blacks have been murdered since the liberation of Libya by NATO to wreck that country and burn it to the ground. What a war crime when Gaddafi had apologized, paid reparations, invested tens of billions of dollars with the West. He was set up and overthrown to destabilize that region. A war crime. Far from keeping the peace, NATO is a threat to it. The London Guardian reports, and I agree. It is just a mad dog, immoral position of the elites that we see. I want to get into the latest on the border, where Obama administration is refusing to tell Congress where illegal children went. This has been going on for 3 months now. The border has been ordered open for 9 months, almost 9 months, since the beginning of this year. 8 months and change. And it's all on record. Look at how controlled the press is. No one knew that they were pulling buses in to the border and loading them on Greyhounds, with Border Patrol assisting them, with Democratic Party officials giving them vouchers, federal vouchers, to go anywhere they wanted without even a background check or ID. Allowed on airplanes without IDs. You know who broke that? Infowars.com. And I'm not telling you that to brag. I'm saying, look how controlled CNN is. Fox News wouldn't even report that till we broke it. And the New York Times 3 weeks later reported it. And who told us? ICE and the Border Patrol. We should have enough reporters to be on the border all the time. We don't. Our reporters are down there now joining us next hour. But please financially support us. Please buy the books, the films, the pro-gun T-shirts, the camouflage Infowars.com ball caps. Meet like-minded people. I want to thank all of you that do buy the apparel. A lot of it is made in America. All of it's made in America. If it's in the made in 1776 section, the golf shirts, all of it. Get the high-quality Survival Shield Nascent Iodine, the Fluoride Detox, the Super Mel Vitality, the Silver Bullet Colloidal Silver, the OcuPower. All of your purchases fund this operation. InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com, or 888-253-3139. We're also covering other serious threats that show how reckless the globalists have gotten, how out of control they are, that they don't care if reactors are built on fault lines or leaking. It's a death wish. It's an evil spirit. I don't know what you call it. Here's John Bound's report, The Coming American Chernobyl, at Devil's Canyon, California.
On the 26th of April, 1986, the worst nuclear power plant disaster in history occurred at the Chernobyl plant in the Ukraine. Chernobyl was labeled as a level 7, the maximum classification on the International Nuclear Event Scale.
At the core of the blown-out reactor, and buried under 14 meters of rubble, the graphite surrounding the nuclear fuel burns and melts the uranium. The radioactive fallout is going to be 100 times greater than the combined power of the 2 atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Years later, on the 11th of March, 2011, the Fukushima meltdown reawakened public awareness regarding the ever-present dangers of nuclear power.
So we're about 270, 276. So we're maxing out around 280 or so. And remember, 30 is what's normal for this location. Now they're disputing that this isn't the cesium-137. They're saying this is radium and other things that naturally occur in the environment. Whatever it is abnormally high.
With the recent earthquake activity stirring in the Ring of Fire, the Diablo Canyon power plant located near Avila Beach in San Luis Obispo, resting near not one but 4 fault lines, is a clear and present danger. The second fault, known as the Hosgri Fault, was only discovered after the plant's completion. In November of 1927, the Hosgri Fault generated a 7.1 magnitude earthquake 10 miles offshore. A 2013 document filed by former Nuclear Regulatory Commission Inspector Michael Peck insisted on closing down Diablo until the commission determined whether the plant's equipment could survive higher seismic stress levels. In 1981, Diablo was incorrectly retrofitted when employees failed to reverse the plans for the twin reactors. Regardless, the Nuclear Regulation Commission approved the safety of Diablo's monstrosity of incompetence. Diablo has a seismic monitoring and safety system ready to shut it down immediately in the event of significant ground motion.
The motion is detected by sensors in the ground and provides 3-dimensional data on seismic conditions.
But that won't stop the potential damage unleashed by the fuel rods as witnessed during the Fukushima debacle. Of course, Pacific Gas and Electric would like you to believe this ticking time bomb is good for jobs, energy consumption of its 2 million recipients, and the way forward as old man coal is aggressively shut down.
So if somebody wants to build a coal-powered plant, they can. It's just that it will bankrupt them because they're going to be charged a huge sum for all that greenhouse gas that's being emitted.
But the voices opposed are many. After President Richard Nixon called for construction of 1,000 nuclear plants by the year 2000, 1,900 anti-nuclear movement protesters were arrested in 1981 during a 10-day civil disobedience blockade of the Diablo Canyon power plant.
With the main gate cleared and the last blockader in jail, Pacific Gas and Electric made final preparations to start the reactor. But then, at the last moment, PG&E publicly admitted a grave mistake. There are 2 reactors at Diablo, mirror images of each other. The blueprints for units 1 and 2 had gotten mixed up, and the earthquake supports for the cooling pipes, the same cooling system designed to prevent a meltdown, had been installed backwards. It was the first of hundreds of mistakes discovered later, all made on the $2.5 billion structure described by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission as the most highly analyzed building in the world.
Today, most locals and tourists are completely unaware of the passion Californians vented against the nuclear energy mafia just 33 years ago.
Fukushima resting right over those mountains.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Experts would have us just bury our heads in the sand, but some are already preparing for the inevitability of America's Fukushima.
If Diablo blows, nobody's staying around to use it. I've actually got backpacks in my car, you know, for heading out. Preparedness, I think, is very important.
Yeah.
But the whole idea that they're going to sound the sirens and we're all going to head north, it just won't work.
Yeah.
Northeast. So
yeah.
I wish it wasn't there. But it is, and maybe they'll deactivate it, and that would be fine with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I think it's great how the citizens on our own can be prepared, yet, you know, we're asking our government basically to take care of us, and they're, you know, telling us to look the other way. Yeah. And how can you do that when all of this is at risk?
Well, it always comes in the limelight once there's an earthquake. Mm-hmm. So this Napa earthquake has made everybody kind of think about it again. You know, that a good earthquake would cause the plant to blow, and would want to get out of here.
When you look around and you see all of this beauty, all these families, all these people, how does that make you feel knowing that they're okay with a potential Fukushima situation here in America?
We know we couldn't all get out. You know, they say head north, head east, northeast once the plant warns us. But you know that you couldn't do that. The freeway would be jammed. That's why, we know we could go across the Santa Maria River bed and head south. I raised 7 children in this town, and I taught them all to run home no matter what the school told them, because we were going to hop in the car and get out somehow. They weren't going to wait for school buses. But yeah, it's a big problem. They say we provide 20% of California's power at that plant, but I think they named it Diablo for a reason.
As the purported Chinese curse goes, may you live in interesting times. For Infowars.com, I'm John Bound.
And that is the report that we just premiered here on the radio. That's the type of reports we have every night, 7 o'clock Central, Infowars Nightly News. We just skipped this network break. I do that routinely because it just doesn't feel right to even go to break when we're covering subjects this hardcore. And the final addendum I would add, when we've had physicists and other experts on, nuclear physicists and, of course, seismologists and geologists, is that the entire ring of fire has been very active the last decade in the Pacific, and the only area that hasn't had a major earthquake, 8.0 or higher, is the piece of the ring of fire through California. And so it's set to go. And they built Fukushima on a fault line, and you saw what happened with that. 5 of the 6 reactors melted down. 2 of them blew completely up. And I was brought up total free market anti-communist. And so they would attach, like, oh, not liking GMO or not liking, radiation to being a commie. So I was like, nuclear power is great. It's safe. It's wonderful. Well, the truth is, it isn't. They hide the problems. It's done wrong. I'm all for technology. But just because some of the left historically is against something doesn't mean then they weren't right. Now the left today says they love nuclear power and they love GMO and they love, look at Obama. So I don't just go off left wing or right wing. I go off real research, real issues. And they've got a Nuclear Regulatory Commission, UN report, our own Nuclear Commission's report, 91% of the 400 and whatever it is reactors, 427 or whatever it is that are energy producing. Then they've got hundreds of other research reactors, like the one at the J.J. Pickle Center in North Austin. That's a big one for a research reactor. So it's actually thousands if you count those. 91% are leaking. And at that very Diablo plant a few years ago, it was on NBC News, they kept having leaks. So they were supposed to turn the alarms on when there's a leak. And the headline was, well, we've decided we're releasing some radiation safe. We don't want to scare people. We're going to stop turning the alarms on. So, there could be an earthquake and the whole thing blows up. They're not going to turn those alarms on. Used to, government wasn't perfect, but it would try to not blow things up. It would try to not have nuclear war. It would try to not start war with the Russians. Our government didn't openly fund al-Qaeda to run around chopping Christians' heads off. Even back when Reagan, was running them up against the Russians. Now it's just so much more immoral. Now, there's another one. Possible leak causes San Onofre nuclear plant shutdown. That's another one out, and that's Diablo Canyon. The other is the Diablo Canyon plant in St. Luis Obispo County. And then it goes through that. It was a precautionary shutdown, and then they went on to say, but we're going to stop issuing the alerts now. We don't want to scare you.